who felt ill-equipped, marginalized, like I didn't have a chance, and made it somehow anyway. So there we go.
I made it here for this.
All right.
Start from the bottom, now you.
Good. That could be the intro song.
That is my theme song. Okay. Hey there, friends, and welcome to Becoming a Boss, where we usually take some time each week to talk with someone who's wrestling with a specific situation at work. But today, we have crooks in the house.
That's right.
We are taking advantage
Hello.
of this occasion. Yes, you want to introduce yourselves?
My name's Colin.
Colin.
Cammie.
And Cammie.
Yeah.
And the infamous, so listen, you already talked to you about this, but I've been thinking a lot about integrity because if you don't have it, your leadership will most certainly be affected along with your relationships and even your full-blown quality of life, in my opinion. So my question I want to ask you is, do you think integrity is, and I have the best people on the podcast for this conversation because you two are some of the most highest integrity people. Wait, how do you say that? The high integress. Is that a word?
It sounds good.
Let me just act like that's a word.
I like the way it sounds.
Nobody's going to Google it. These
High
are
integrous.
some of the most integrous people. Okay.
Which is very kind. Just so you know, we're married. Our last name is Crook. So she didn't just give us this nickname because we have done illegal things. It is our last name.
Correct.
And we are, a young married couple in ministry. So that's a big compliment from you, Megan, to hear that.
That was good clarification. I probably should have added that you are not felons.
We're not
That is
felons.
You get that name honestly.
Yes.
Your married name.
My married name.
Yeah, but all the suspense is just now out the window.
Just so we're clear.
yeah, but
We're
it's
crooks with high integrity.
High integrity.
I love that.
There it is.
We're changing the title. Okay.
All right. What's the question?
My first question is, do you think that integrity is caught or taught? Meaning, do you think that we are more likely to learn integrity from being shown what it looks like to live a life full of integrity, or just people tell you what to do and you do it, and that's how you learn?
Answers don't always come to me this easily, but I really do believe that it's caught, whether it's that you catch what it looks like to live a life of integrity, or you catch what it looks like to be under a leader or a parent or a friend or a spouse that doesn't have integrity.
Yeah.
One way or another, you're catching on to what it will produce. Mm-hmm. And I believe, at least from my experience, that has been my motivation to walk in integrity. Even if people are telling me at one point or another, I'm going to pick up on how it's benefited or harmed them. And that's ultimately going to be the thing that's going to motivate me. So I'd say caught.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think there are times in life where you are taught integrity, whether it's through mistakes you've made or different situations you've been in. Mm-hmm. But I think, when you think about people in your life that have really impacted you, the chances are they've had high integrity because they're true to themselves and they're true to what God has put in them. And they're just living their life in a way that is respectable and that's honoring. And I think some of the people that I've been most impacted by are some of the people with the most integrity because they lived their life with such, respect for themselves and for the people around them. And I just think that's super admirable.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that. So who do you think influenced you a lot in terms of integrity? For me, even though I had my own struggles growing up as a teenager, my parents did model what it was like to treat people the way that they should be treated and to care for people and to stick up for people, which I think even that specifically has lasted a really long time because like you and I were just talking about, it really gets under my skin to think about a person who's being mistreated based off of just for no good reason. And it was because of my mom. She buried that into my soul, as well as don't litter. So
good. Two very important things.
God.
Don't litter out there.
Oh my God. So
that was her thing?
She was so I don't know how old I was, but and I should caveat because my mom is not abusive.
Unless you throw trash out of the car window.
That's what happened. I mean, I didn't know that you weren't supposed to throw whatever.
That's how you learn.
She was driving and so
The ability of mothers to multitask while they're driving blows my mind.
and I have never littered again.
You only have to learn that lesson once.
One time.
No things you will not be. And now my mom will be very proud to know on trash day, because when they dump the trash, it goes all over the place. I just get my gloves and I go outside and I pick up all the.
Do you really?
I don't want to. It's not because, wow, you have such high integrity. That's not the reason. The reason is I don't want to live in a trashy neighborhood.
That's a
Right.
good point.
And so it's not.
Do your part.
Yeah, I don't want to live in a neighborhood that has trash everywhere. Okay.
I was just talking to somebody who he's living with multiple roommates right now, and he was like, I'm the only guy that takes out the trash. And I was thinking, this won't be this way forever. One day you'll have your own house with a family and you'll have shared values, and then you telling me this, that you're on your street picking up trash. I think I lied to him today.
Never goes away.
Never goes away.
Never changes. The people with high integrity out there are the ones throwing their trash away. So.
That's true.
But I think for me, my dad, I think, is a man of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has always been somebody that has been successful, but has always done it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Never cut corners, never burnt bridges in the process,
Mm-hmm.
was always true to himself and what he believed to be right. And I think that our family, and even me, I think I'm living in the fruit of his integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very inspired by just the way that he lived his life, by the decisions that he made were based off of, man, what is not just best for me, but for my family. And even just growing up in a Christian home, the elements of our faith that he stayed true to never deviate from his faith
Right.
for success or
Mm-hmm.
for achievement.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where integrity can get tricky, is because that's the first thing that we could sacrifice when we are chasing success.
Sure.
Because we just want to get there as fast and as quick as possible.
Right.
Even if that means we're sacrificing ourselves in the process.
Yeah.
Right.
And I never saw my dad do that. He never sacrificed himself, his own morals and beliefs for the achievement of his own success. He was true to who God was calling him to be and his family. And I think I saw that, and it's impacted me, and it's the way that I want to lead my family.
Yeah.
It's not just what is best for me, how can I get success or achievement as fast as possible, but what is my faith telling me, and what is going to be the thing that's best for my family in the long run. And so I think he exemplified integrity in such a natural way. I don't think it was something he talked about a lot, or that he researched a lot. I think it was just who he was.
Yeah.
And I think it was the atmosphere that he set is, you don't lie, you don't cheat, you don't steal, you do things with honor and with valor. And
Right.
so,
Even when your last name.
even when your last name is Crook.
He was an accountant, his father, with the last name of Crooks. So kudos to that man.
That's extra funny.
It really
You have to have extra integrity when your last name's Crook.
You do.
There's no way around that.
I listened to a Freakonomics episode. This is a podcast called Freakonomics, and they are economists, and they explore very funny and weird things. And one of the episodes was about naming your kids. If you name your child a certain name, does it make them more apt?
I've thought about this before. What did they find out?
It's bullcorn, because
Okay.
one of the
Bullcorn.
it's bullcorn because this is PG.
Okay.
So okay.
Both calling
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
We're calling it bullcorn. Okay. Yeah. So one of the people that they featured on the podcast, he actually named, I mean, just hold on to your butts right now. He named a child Winner, and he named a child Loser.
Poor.
Why would you ever do that?
Oh, no.
I'm not sure, but they were featured on the podcast.
Oh, no.
And long story short, Loser was very successful.
Good for him.
It's funny how that
As he
works,
should be.
isn't it?
Because there's there must be something to what people are calling you, and what they speak over you has so much of an impact. But nothing can override the human will. I very few things.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I like
saying?
that.
When you set your mind to it, when you give it to God, there are very few things that can override that. So good for loser, man.
He said my name may be a loser, but he was most definitely not going to be a loser.
That's what I'm saying. There's those people that when there's resistance, they just push harder. Yeah. Things didn't come easy to loser.
Telling you.
Figured it out.
He had
I would
setbacks.
get a name change immediately.
You think you would.
No
I
question.
know. Poor guy.
No way my name is going to be loser, ever.
So what about you, Kimmy? What do you think? Do you have a person that you feel like influenced your integrity?
I can think of a few. I can think of my first boss. My first job, I was a dance teacher at the dance studio that I grew up dancing at. And I think about one of my professors. I think about my parents. So I think of a multitude of people. And what's really interesting to me about hearing Colin talk is like integrity, I think, has a couple different aspects to it. One of them being moral rightness. The other one, I think, being wholeness, right? Like showing up with all of you, with all of where you're at, and walking integrity, meaning showing up with everything you have and giving your all to the thing in front of you.
Wow.
Nothing hidden, nothing saved for later, being able to put your name on it, look somebody in the eyes and give it your all. Even if maybe that version, maybe if it wasn't perfect, it was all of you in that moment, right? And so when I think about the different people that have influenced me, and some of them I saw pieces being left out, right? The lack of fullness, right? Maybe something's being hidden, and it always catches up to people, right? Like you see the way in people's lives where it doesn't mean that they're not absolutely killing it in these areas, that they're not gifted, that they're not smart, that they're not great people, or even great leaders in certain aspects. When integrity is missing, I just haven't ever seen it not catch up to a person one way or another.
Yeah.
And then in the opposite sense, I see the way that there's favor on people's lives in the long run when they walk in integrity.
Yeah.
Even if they don't know all the things yet, right? To show up with like, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm giving it my all. I'm being the best steward of what I feel like God's giving me. I just see different favor and grace on their life in the long run, on their business, on their family, on their marriage, when things could be broken. And so that's always stuck with me. I think about some of those people, and now in my own job, in moments where I might be tempted to say, okay, it's not 100% my responsibility, so I'll just give a little bit to it and say it'll work out. I'm motivated to walk in integrity, to bring my whole self, to say, is my name on it? I'm going to give it all I have morally. But with all of me, like what parts of me are divided? What parts of my motives are divided? How can I address that to show up with integrity?
Wow.
So the people in my life that I can think of, I've seen either favor or a lack of favor on their life or their business ultimately. And that's what stood out.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is, I think, where your first question came from. I think that's why it stuck with me, is because I just watched it played out. I don't know that people were ever like, Kimmy, walk in integrity.
Right.
I didn't grow up in that kind of family. I mean, we didn't even grow up in church in the same way. So it was less should for me. It was more that I kind of just watched things unfold differently for different people, but that was a common denominator.
Yeah. Well, I had someone who was really close to me, even grew up in the church.
Okay.
I mean, in the church,
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday,
Dang.
Sunday,
In it.
all in it.
That was me.
And as well as Colin.
Yeah.
And the mom was did not carry the type of integrity that you say. I mean, it ain't just because of church. I'll tell you, because the mom actually displayed quite the opposite, even though she was in the church 6 days a week. So, and imagine what that did to his perspective.
I bet.
It probably sent that message. And as a young child, he's getting this message, well, you go to church and you don't live with integrity. That's what Christians are all about. So that makes me
So sad. Oh, all the
so
time.
sad.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think living with integrity, I love how you put it, there's just a special favor and it can be a special blessing that's on you. But I think when you live your life with integrity, it's also the most fulfilling way to live your life. Because if I get everything that I dreamed of and did it the wrong way, when I get it, I'm going to be like, man, that was all for nothing.
Right.
I have no one. I
that's
sacrificed
interesting.
all the things that were important. But I think when you live your life with integrity and you trust God and you do the right things and you every day you show up wholeheartedly and give everything to what's in front of you, that there's just such a sense of personal fulfillment that comes from living your life that way. And I think that's one of the things I've noticed about integrity is it's so fulfilling to not just achieve or succeed or go through life, but when you do it and you're true to who you are and you give yours all to it, so much fulfillment can come from that.
It's the thing that stays with you.
Yeah, it stays with you.
We've had all these influences in our lives which have helped to shape how we think of integrity. And I am reading Atomic Habits. Have you read that?
Yep. Great.
James Cleary, I think,
I can see it.
the author.
I can see his name on there.
I see the book cover.
I can't bet on the last name.
I am
Clear.
What's his name?
Clear. James Clear.
Okay, there you go. Thank you to the peanut gallery over there.
We're grateful for it.
So anyway, one of the things that he was talking about, I was talking about habits because the book is called Atomic Habits. Good. And he mentions that, and I'm still early in the book, but I'm really loving it so far. And one of the things he talks about is how the people around you are so highly influential to how you behave. Behavior is attached to habits. Habits are attached to. Yeah. And I mean, and he's using light examples such as, I mean, not that this is light, but if you are around people who are gaining weight, then you will also gain weight. Not that you for sure will. It's just that the odds of it are higher because of the people that you surround yourself with. But that also works to your advantage. Yes. So when you have this great example of integrity, and then you are drawn to, this is where unconscious bias actually works to our favor.
Great.
Right? Because you're drawn to people who then also have integrity, and then your people all have integrity, and it's just going to perpetuate. Contagious. Yeah. So I thought, wow, I really need to.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I need to think about that.
And what I think is cool about that too is it can be easy to, and maybe I'm wrong. I'd actually be curious to hear guys' thoughts here, because I think sometimes we could slap a label of integrity on a person and say, oh, this person just has integrity, as if it's like a personality trait.
Right.
It's like their middle name.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's always true. I think we have opportunities to show up with all of ourselves, to show up and make decisions with righteousness and good faith and conscience every single day. And so what I love about being around people who walk in integrity is that there are going to be moments where we have the option to not, to lead based out of comfort instead of, you know, what would be the best choice.
Or fear.
Correct. Like all the ways that we're tempted, especially if we're in leadership, to make decisions out of fear. So if we're surrounded by people who more often than not are convicted to walk uprightly and to walk with integrity, in all of those moments where we're tempted to make decisions based off so many motives, we'll most likely be pushed in the right direction.
Yeah.
Well, I also think that, you know, integrity is felt. Like whenever you're talking with somebody or you're making a decision or you're trying to figure out what to do, you can feel when somebody has mixed motives.
Sure.
You can feel when somebody is like, okay, that seems self-serving, that seems off. I think I look at integrity as like a compass and in a way that it can point me in a direction to live my life. Where you know, in some conversations you can just tell some people have mixed motives, and I think integrity isn't always something that is seen with your eyes, but I think it's felt in your heart. And I think you can feel when the people around you are choosing to live their life with integrity or they're not. And so, but I think at the end of the day, you can see the decisions that people's make and the decisions they choose. But before you ever see it, like you'll feel it.
That absolutely leaks. We say that a lot, right? Like leadership leaks or whatever. But I think that leaks too. And so to the, you know, the quote about do as I say, not as I do, how that's just never going to work. Yeah. I think it's one of those things with integrity is like, it's going to leak off of who we're under and the people that we're around, and that will ultimately motivate people to be like, that's not the person I want to be listening to or in business with or in relationship with when motives are mixed like that.
Yeah, mixed motives play a big part in integrity. I think
that makes sense.
Yeah, I was actually trying to track down, because I knew that we were going to have this conversation about integrity. And I was just writing a couple of notes, but I was just thinking, wow, how do I actually know? I was trying to trace back how I knew that you two both operate under such integrity.
I was going to ask, but it felt like I'd be fishing for a compliment. But I was curious, why did you pick this for us?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it's not a personality trait.
I don't think so.
It's something that, and I mean, we can Google it if we want to hear Webster's definition, but for me, I think because we had an opportunity to be in close quarters for such a long period of time, and when you are operating closely with somebody, you can see their day to day, their struggles and their successes. And I think because you can see them suffering through it.
Yeah.
And struggling to make a right decision when another person would just have long let it go. But just to see that you're students of life, that you're students of the Lord, that you're continuously passionate and chasing to make sure that you're walking in the way. It's really, so that was my answer. I was trying to pinpoint, was there a moment?
Are you having flashbacks to that season? When we got close to Justin and Megan Rosales, it was, in the months following the start of COVID, it was when we were engaged, trying to get married. We got in this big car accident. Colin ends up in the hospital for something. I'm having flashbacks to that season.
It was a rough season.
That was a crazy one. So why do you think, Colin? Why walk in integrity?
I think there's a humility that comes with living a life of integrity, because I don't think integrity is always self-serving. I think integrity most of the time it can look like putting other interests above your own. It can look like, what is the best decision? What is the best choice? What is the best way to steward this circumstance, even if I'm not the one gaining the most out of it? What if it's the person next to me? What if it's in that accident, the compassion to have, what was the other person doing? I think integrity sees all sides of the story, even if it's not always self-serving to you. But I think it takes humility to walk in that. I think it takes knowing yourself. I think there's an element of integrity and I think integrity is interesting because I think it can look different for other people depending on what you believe to be right. I think there's an element of righteousness and moral beliefs where what I believe to be right in a certain situation may be different than what you believe to be right, Megan. And so I think that's where it can be interesting. But I think where I hold myself to a high level of integrity is, am I being true to who I am? Am I being true to who I know that God has called me to be in this situation? I think it's just showing up with a sense of being true to who I am, and not being something that I'm not, or not taking the easy way out. But I think there's something to showing up and being true to who you are. But I think integrity is interesting because I don't always think it can look the same for everyone, depending on what you believe to be right. But I do think there's an element of integrity that's what do I believe to be right? What do you believe to be right, Cammie? What do you believe to be right, Megan? And do you live your life according to that? And that's why I said I think integrity for me is a compass in which I make my decisions and I choose to live my life. It really does point me in that direction.
When you said that, it reminded me of a verse that I couldn't think of, so I just Googled it. But I think you're spot on. Proverbs 11:3 says, "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity," which is double-mindedness, deceitfulness, right? So, but the integrity of the upright guides them reminds me of your compass, right? When in doubt, it will be the thing that points to your next step. And I think you said humility, but I think it's also kind of a lifestyle of surrender, saying, God, if I'm off, correct me. I'm going to follow this, what I believe is right, and giving my whole self to it. If I am wrong, I trust that you will guide me in the right direction. But the integrity of the upright guides them. It is a compass.
And I think that's great too. If you just think of a practical example of what it looks like to live a life of integrity, I know I talked about how it can look different for everyone, but when you think of the workplace or a coworker, the way that you treat people, it's not different for everyone. When you're being kind to somebody, and when you're blatantly choosing to be rude. To me, living a life of integrity would be, I'm going to choose to treat you with kindness and respect, even though you wronged me, or even though I feel like this situation is unfair. Living of a life of integrity is choosing the higher ground. It's choosing to do the thing that is right, regardless of whether or not you feel like you deserve it, because
that's hard.
Because it's the right thing to do. But especially in the workplace or in relationships, when someone's mean to you, our human nature is to be mean back, but that's not always.
Or at least cut her off.
Cut
her.
Get them out of here.
Get them out of here.
But I think sometimes living a life of integrity is choosing to live your life with kindness and respect and honesty, regardless of what the situation calls for. So
you guys have provided really, really good answers. I feel like I need to sit in that for about a week. So we can
Reconvene.
Part
yeah,
2.
we could reconvene. All right. So one of the other things we talk about in regards to integrity is the sign stealing situation.
Yes.
Someone's got to explain this to me.
I don't understand. So
That is a grade A example of how to not live with integrity.
Oh my God.
okay, because I was confused. Now, for those of you who don't follow football, everyone follows football now because of Taylor Swift.
I don't particularly follow football.
All right. So not everyone.
Here for Travis Kelce and T Swift. Here for it.
Even Taylor Swift can't get Cammy to like football.
I mean, I thought that the line was going to be crossed there, to be honest.
You know, we'll see if we get there.
You have the rest of the season to think about it.
Okay.
And the playoffs are
She
coming.
won't get there.
Cammy.
We're working on it. Now I know what a tight end does.
Maybe one day.
I did my research.
Yeah, he's...
Who is this Kelsey guy?
Yeah, he's a tight end.
He's a tight end.
He is.
One of the best in NFL history.
All right, so
Not-
who's out here
Hall of
stealing
Famer.
signs?
Okay, so I watch NFL. I don't know a darn thing about college. However,
Okay.
sometimes when I'm watching my NFL news, the stinking college news will interfere.
Oh,
So when it gets
stay in
all...
your lane.
That's what I'm saying.
This has been a
Okay.
big story.
Well, I am offended because I purposefully do not watch college, and I have my reasons. I'll explain them later. But I don't watch it because I have standards, and that's the bottom line. So when I'm watching NFL news, I expect to hear NFL news, okay? So when you interrupt my NFL news with a college story, it better be good. So here's what they did. They interrupted the story, and they said, so-and-so is a coach for a college team, and he's being accused of sign stealing. To which I thought, how dumb. Why would someone steal a sign? Because, you know, fans have signs. Go Tigers. Why would someone
Very
steal
practical.
a sign? It makes
Zero
zero sense.
Yeah.
And even if you did steal a sign, who freaking
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Don't put it on your news.
Do you not have a job to do? You had no time. Okay.
Was there no better news to share?
Interrupting my NFL news. Anyway, so
I get
Colin, here's what happened after that.
Yeah, tell me.
I found out because I was cutting my dad's hair, and everyone knows I have to cut everybody's hair.
Great time to watch the news.
So I'm cutting my dad's hair, and he informs me, "Did you hear about the sign stealing?" And I said yes. And frankly, I don't understand
It's like,
it.
what signs are they stealing? You're like,
Because I'm thinking, go Tigers,
Sure.
like a normal person,
Yeah, like me.
which is a normal person.
go team, score the touchdown.
Yeah.
Again, can't understand why. And he says, no, he was cheating. He was straight up cheating. So, Colin, you're the only one in this room who understands what the heck is going on. So please explain it to us so that we can make an educated decision on the integrity of said coach.
Well, this so-called team and coach is one of the biggest schools in the country with the Michigan Wolverines.
Okay.
And they're not just like another team. They are the number
The
2
team.
ranked team in the nation right now.
Okay, so they're really good.
They're really good. Fun fact, their stadium is the biggest stadium in the country.
Fun fact.
He just knows this.
Over 90,000 people can fit in that stadium. Anyways,
Did Taylor Swift do a concert there?
she should. That would be a big concert. But their coach was accused of sign stealing.
'Kay.
Again, Megan, you already referenced it is not an actual sign, but in football, a form of communication is signs. It's making language. It's a form of communication.
Okay.
Now, what Michigan was doing is they were studying the other team's signals. So it's like a signal, whether
Hand
it's like
signals.
hand signals, or even if they throw up a sign, everything means something.
Yeah.
And so what they were doing is they were studying other team signs or signals and seeing what play or what difference was run because of those certain signs. So what Michigan was doing is
That's sneaky.
they learned the signals and they learned the signs, and then they would audible their plays or make adjustments to either benefit them or to stop the offense from making any moves. And so basically, yes, they were cheating.
I'm beside myself.
It's essentially like looking at the study guide while you're taking the test. Is essentially what they were doing. And
so
Before we throw this man in
just
prison,
can't.
though, can I play devil's advocate?
I'm so mad. I don't know if you can. Go ahead.
Is he not just making really good observations?
well, here's the thing.
I'm not kidding, right?
This is what sparked more drama. Is
Okay.
The coach is claiming he knew nothing about it. It was happening with his assistants, with the people underneath him.
Oh, did
that
he
were
throw
the
his people
ones-
under the
that
bus,
were
you
the
think?
ones doing. So does that?
Regardless, as the leader, I think you gotta just take the
You got to
fall
take
for
the
that one,
ownership,
John.
right?
But are they not just making good observations and prepping their people?
Well, again, it's cheating.
That's cheating?
That's not. I mean, that
If
takes
it's in
a.
the rules.
Okay, yes or no? Is it in the rule book? You're not allowed to do it. Yes or no?
I mean, we could get the rule book out. I should have researched that before.
You should have known the rule book.
But if we're talking about the integrity of the game, cheating does take away from the purity and integrity of the game, which is, hey, you have your
Right.
game plan, they have theirs,
Right.
and you play the game and you make adjustments.
Okay. Well, the answer to that question is going to. I'm just telling you. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about me. Okay. I'm going to follow the rules. However, I believe there are times to break the rules.
I'm with you.
And if someone is feeling threatened or unsafe or whatever, like I'm gonna break the rules. There's just time and a place. Crap. B.
Sure, we've all done it.
There's a time and place for it, right?
Sure.
It just depends on the situation. Okay. The next thing though about that is if it is in the rules and it says you can't go and copy the signs, then you can't copy. Cheating is cheating. If it says you can't do it, you can't do it. However, if you're doing to Cammie's point, if you're doing really good coaching, all the power to you, baby. Right. That's all I gotta say.
All the power to you.
All right. Now I have one more thing.
Yeah.
There's so many problems. The coach
Got it.
got a 3-game suspension because of his
Said
alleged
allegations.
right.
Yeah.
So he didn't admit to any wrongdoing. So let me ask you this: if you're on the field, and this might be too much in the gritty, but if you're so Cammie, you're the coach.
This is going to take me a long time to mentally get there. If I am a
I believe you can do
football coach
I believe you could do it.
of a successful college football team,
Well, second of all, if you're so successful, well, yeah, you're cheating. How hard is that? That ain't
That is
hard.
true.
Anybody could do that. I could be the most successful. Anything can win if I'm cheating every day. Okay. All right. Let me calm down.
all right.
All right. So you're the coach and you have a team and then you have assistant coaches. So you're telling me that you're on the field and you don't notice that the calls are being changed based off of the hand signals. Like you don't notice that. You just have no idea. You're not in charge of the play calling. So you have no idea. Is that even reasonable?
It's a good question.
Because I have very little
I wish you guys could see her
exposure
face.
to the reality of being on the side of a field where calls are being, made. And here's the one gut reaction that I do have, and then I will allow you guys to debate this topic because you know more than I do. My thought is if you're the head coach, no matter what your assistant coaches are doing,
Say it again, girl.
and if it's happening, if there's more than one allegation, at some point, you are responsible. 100%. At some point. So if there's cheating involved, whether or not you did it, what is the culture around that saying that's okay to keep, like, what is your priority? Why is this the strategy? Like, what ultimately is the goal? Where is the open door?
Ooh,
to
and
this?
and let me add, you are in charge of kids
Shaping the
who
next
are
generation.
in college, who then some of them they're either going to go into their careers and expect that cheating is totally normal, or
And
they're
for
going
some
to.
it is, unfortunately. For some it is.
And then let's talk about it. So we got the people that we've surrounded ourselves with are cheaters.
Right.
And that's the environment that he has created. Not to mention, do you know how many times this dude has been accused of cheating?
So, but like, he's going to throw his assistant coach under the boat. And then, right, like, why, or under the bus, not the boat. Sorry, I grew up on a boat.
No, throw him under all
If
things.
you throw your assistant coach under the bus and move on, I'm like, either take it for your assistant coach or fire your assistant. Like, something's wrong. That's my only strong feeling.
Sign stealing is not a direct violation in NCAA rules.
Great
But
space.
scouting,
I'm so mad.
but scouting the other person's teams through electronic equipment and studying their signs is.
Oh, so they did that though.
So
And
they
that's what
flew
they-
a drone.
Okay.
over
And
their
that is what the
practice.
allegation is that
They
they were
did not.
I don't know.
they were videoing the other team signs and studying them so that so yes, that would technically be a violation of NCAA rules.
Okay.
So yes, that's what they're being investigated for, cheating.
Now, if they were smart, here's what they would do.
Not that.
Yes, thank you. And end podcast. Okay.
Indeed.
If they were smart, what they would do, because there are people in the world who can just see stuff and automatically remember. So if they were smart, they would find that guy and send him.
Photographic memory.
Yes.
There you go.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Megan, you're just giving away strategies now.
Well, because I want to win and I will find a way, but I'm not a rule breaker.
Yeah. Well,
So I know how to push the envelope though.
that's true.
But this ain't the way.
I'd rather win the game the right way than win it the wrong way.
Yeah, and if they want to
That's
go ahead and take what I did
There you go.
and make a new rule, then
Yeah.
so be it.
There you go.
I do think though it's the gray space where integrity is tested and where it ultimately matters, right? It's easy to walk in integrity and the places where you're immediately rewarded for it. Do you lose a game by doing it the right way when you could win it by cheating a little bit?
Well, and the chances of them still winning the game without doing that were likely. Like, they can still win games without.
I don't
stealing
know
signs.
he's been already accused of cheating. Do you know how many times?
Probably several.
So I'm just saying, if you cheat for a decade,
You're just a cheater at that point.
you're just a cheater. So
know
you
how
don't
to
really
take it.
have a winning team.
Yeah.
You have a winning cheat system.
You know how to cheat your way to the top.
And who has allowed this? On top of that, who has
Again,
allowed this
I
to
don't see a
continue?
version of this story where Jim Harbaugh didn't know that this was happening, or that he was unaware of it, or that the team was unaware of it.
Yeah.
I just don't see a version where that's possible. I think it's a culture thing
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah, so my most mad, and I swear I'm going to be done complaining about it, but my most mad part of this leadership failure is that I realize these are not 10-year-olds, but they are still young, impressionable men. And some of them are going to end up in the NFL, which they're going to make lots and lots of money. They're going to have lots and lots of opportunities to break bad. And heaven forbid, we can't just provide them one God-blessed example of a good human being. We just can't.
That's true. Well,
Because what if they didn't have good parents? What if they didn't have a good role model? What if they don't have that? And then you
That's true.
are the only person. Okay.
Well, maybe they can learn from someone else's failures.
Failures. I mean, we would hope so.
And who knows about that coach's role model and their parents and it's the system.
That's what I'm saying. He's a brother in the NFL. So they have the same parents.
That goes back to your question: is integrity caught
Or taught.
or taught? I don't know.
We may never know.
We may never know, but I think that for sure it's a culture thing. It needs to be addressed, and you just gotta hope that the players on that team have more integrity to not repeat have a perpetual cycle.
And I am curious, right? Like, we'll see where all this lands, but could this not be a thing that makes them catch it? And I think at some point, all of us have to make a hard decision about the kind of person, the kind of leader, coach, athlete, influencer, boss, wife, husband that we want to be.
Yeah.
We have to make the hard one. So we're all going to decide differently. We're all going to show up to it differently.
Mm-hmm.
That's a super personal decision.
It comes down to a choice. You have a choice.
You have a choice.
We have a choice to end this podcast.
Ugh.
You guys did such a great job.
Thanks, Megan.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
I'm glad this is recorded because I have to go back and teach myself what to do with my integrity from everything that y'all said. All right, so that's it for today. Hey, thank you everyone for listening in today. And hey, do you want to be a part of the show? Call or text 864-619-1683 to share your story, and we will get into it about what the leader should have done differently. And calling all bosses, would you share this episode with someone you think would like it? Our goal is to inspire and equip others, but we can't do it without you. And listen, friend, we know it's not easy, but remember that whatever it is you're walking through, you are certainly not alone. And together, we can make the world a better place to work. Thanks for listening, team. Take care, and see you next week.
Let's go. Aim in the bush. I got a bam in the bush. I know that God gon' provide for me. That's why I stand on the book.